Welcome back to Bulldogs Live with Georgia head coach Kirby Smart. Thank you for being here tonight as we get ready to talk to the coach. And thanks to our friends from Wipfli who are here tonight and friends of them. Give yourselves a hand, folks.
There they are.
Everybody know you are here.
They're trying to be loud.
Just kind of like the Bulldogs on Saturday. They're going to let Tennessee Tech know they are there.
That's right.
And that's Coach Kirby Smart. And, Coach, good to see you again, as always. And
good to be here. Ready for the Power Hour.
Yes, yes, indeed. Well, let's jump right into it. How's the week been?
Week's been good. Guys have been really working hard. We've had a little theme of pursue better, and I feel like they've achieved that. You know, the pursuit of being better and pursuit of where we want to go goes through Tennessee Tech. That's the next obstacle. But most important thing is that iron sharpens iron, and we've had some really good practices. We've ramped up our reps for our 2s and our 3s while maintaining the 1s, and we've done a lot of good work this week, which I like doing because Tennessee Tech has some similarities to us.
Good showing in Atlanta last week. A very good second half for you guys as you were able to put Clemson away, and just your final thoughts on that before we move on.
Final
to
thoughts?
Else.
I've been talking about that thing all week. So final
One more
thoughts.
for this audience.
Proud of the guys. Played hard, played resilient, played tough. Really physical game both ways. There was a lot of big hits, a lot of really good line of scrimmage players, and a lot of new kids playing on both sides of the ball for us and them. So, both teams gain from that game because when you go play another one like it, you're at an advantage because maybe the other team you're playing hasn't played one like it. So there was a lot of intensity and anxiety there.
I didn't see what the final number was, but you certainly did get a lot of players in that game to get some snaps and get a little experience for those that haven't been able to do that, maybe new to the program, and I'm sure that was an exciting time for them as well.
Yeah, I mean, more kids you get to play, that's a big deal because they practice really hard. You know, you wish every kid could get in, but it doesn't always work that way. But we did get to play a lot of guys.
Home opener this week, and that ramps up another level of excitement for you and the team.
Yeah, I mean, you play at home, it's special. You know, we've got a nice home winning streak going on that the guys take a lot of pride in. The former players hold the guys to that standard, and we're playing at home, which we don't get to do as much as most people with a permanent neutral site game with the Georgia-Florida. So you better take advantage of those opportunities when you get to play at home.
Most teams talk about defending their turf, but you brought it up, the winning streak. Does that come up very much, the actual number of games that you've won consecutively in Sanford Stadium?
I mean, we don't talk about it. I don't even know what it is. It doesn't matter. We want to defend our turf. And regardless of what that number is, the best teams we've had around here have won their home games. That's what you're expected to do.
It's a 2 o'clock kickoff for Georgia and Tennessee Tech on Saturday afternoon. The dog walk is at 11:45 on Saturday morning. That's always a lot of fun for you guys, too. You still drive up on the bus and unload, and then you've just got thousands and thousands of people to walk through to get into the stadium.
It's great for the players. The first experience for that for a lot of guys. Most of our guys went through it for spring game, but it just it seems to be bigger for the fall games.
Yeah, it'll ramp up a little bit, and if you want to be there for that, again, 11:45 is the anticipated time for the 2 o'clock kickoff at Sanford Stadium. It's the home opener for the top-ranked Georgia Bulldogs on Saturday. We're going to take your questions tonight from social media. Hashtag AskCoachSmart is how you get them to us. And the hashtag is brought to you by Greenpoint Ag, farmer-owned and locally focused. We are streaming on Facebook tonight, so you can tune into that. And what is that, just a two-shot? No zooming in, zooming out. It's you can watch and listen on Facebook if you want to. And again, our friends from Wipfli are here tonight as our guest audience. Our show is brought to you by Wells Fargo, an official sponsor of the Georgia Bulldogs. And we will continue with the show and get to questions for the coach right after this on the Georgia Bulldogs Sports Network. We've got questions for the coach tonight. We'll take some audience questions as well. We've got social media questions. And, again, our show is presented by Wells Fargo, an official sponsor of the Georgia Bulldogs. Let's grab one from the social stack, Coach. And let's see. What's the most impressive thing that Tennessee Tech shows you on tape after one game. This is from Bill in Marietta.
I thought their defense played really, really hard last week against a larger opponent. They played up as well. They played Middle Tennessee State. I don't know, how many people follow that game, but Middle Tennessee jumped out to a 14-0 lead. Looked like they were going to run away with the game, and Tennessee Tech came back, took the lead in the fourth quarter, and then Middle Tennessee went down and scored. So they're very resilient. They're tough. Their defense flew around, played really hard, and then offensively they lost their quarterback early in the game, and they had to put another kid in, and he played tremendous. He was a really good athlete, a little bit smaller, but he's a good player, and he's going to be playing this week against us.
Bill, thanks for your question. Carter in Savannah, Georgia. What role did the green dot communication play last week, and do you feel like the coordinators have the hang of it?
Yeah, I think a lot of people are making a really big deal about that. I mean, we've practiced it so long that we're just comfortable. And I think everybody wants to talk about it, but there's just not a lot to talk about. So our offensive coordinator talks to the quarterback. He tells him to play. He communicates with him. At 15 seconds on the play clock, it cuts off, and Carson handles it from there. The rest of the players look over the sideline, and they get the call. And they get the call from the sideline. And then defensively, we have different people by drive, by package that can have the green dot on. So Schumann talks to them until 15 seconds, and then it cuts off. So it was really easy. It was just like our practices, and it wasn't much of a shock. I think the biggest difference was the iPads. We get, I think we had 11 down on the field, 7 in the box, and the coaches felt like it was very beneficial to be able to watch what happened on each play and try to in-game correct.
Yeah, you can see the actual video now,
Right.
as opposed to what did you guys have before?
Nothing.
Just verbal, right?
Nothing. Yeah, you had the screen that came up in the what the fans see. You look up, you see the replay, and if you don't catch it, then you got to go off what maybe a coach's assignment was. Hey, you watch this, and now you still watch it, but you just go to the iPad and look at it.
Let's see, Pat in Elberton, Georgia. How excited were you to see some freshmen step up last week against Clemson?
That's great. I mean, I'll be honest with you. I hope you don't have to play freshmen. I personally think that you're a better team, more experienced when you don't have to. But the age and era we are in now, freshmen will always play a big role because you lose so many players, and you have to play these young guys to get them ready faster.
Also, do you feel like there's a certain group of freshmen that are ready for that moment, though? They're ready to play. They're so talented at a specific level that maybe they don't have all the knowledge that the older guys have at this point, but from a talent and ability standpoint, they're very skilled.
They're very skilled freshmen. They certainly are, and if you're playing with them, it's usually because you have a deficit. I would love to have a skilled sophomore and a skilled junior that have experienced it. But there's, that's why you recruit. There's talented. I don't know. There's this people that are enamored with freshmen, and it's just such a want to talk about that. For me, it's every player on our team. I mean, there's guys that have been in our program for 2 and 3 years that haven't had the limelight of a freshman. But I get it. It's what people want to sensationalize.
On the other end, I was looking at Xavier Truss last week, and I think this is his 6th year in the program. Is that right?
That's right.
Don't we have one other guy that's been here that long? And his name is escaping me right now, but I think there's at least one more that may have the same amount of tenure that Xavier does.
It may be Dan Jackson. I'm not sure.
I think that's it.
Dan's been here a while.
I believe you're right.
And Warren Brinson, a lot of those guys are here for 5th years, but those guys are 6-year guys.
Now, are those guys, those names that we mentioned, are those guys that some of the young players go to for information, for advice, or for anything because they know how the system works here, they know how the program is, and what to expect out of it? Do they go to them for questions?
I think by position they might do that. They're not going to cross position, but Dan really helps relate to the young DBs, and Truss helps relate to the young O-linemen, and they can see where those guys were when they were freshmen, and we show video of that and say, hey, look at Dan, look at Truss when they were freshmen. They struggled too, and you can be successful like they are if you stick it out and stick with it.
Bo in Hartwell, Georgia. We were touching on this a few moments ago. Are you excited to be back inside Sanford Stadium?
Always excited, man. Always excited to be in Sanford Stadium. I mean, it's just home. It's a special place to play between the hedges, the bridge, the turnout, the tailgates, the dog walk, the locker room. The roars of the crowd, the band. There's just so much pageantry, I think, in the Southeastern Conference, and it's something that so many people care about in this state. And as long as people care about it and turn out and support this program, those moments are going to be special in that stadium.
How much do you personally hear from maybe friends, former teammates, fans, whatever, about how special Georgia football is to them, or how it relates in their life and how important it is?
Yeah, I don't get that story much. I mean, people. I mean, it's there. I know it is,
Sure.
but I don't. I don't think people share it with me. They probably realize that it's pretty important to the Smart family for sure. With Mary Beth and myself having been student athletes here, but I know it means a lot to a lot of people, and that doesn't necessarily mean you went to school here. It's usually tied through family history and somebody's dad and their granddad's granddad taking them to games, and that's passed along generation to generation.
And you've got kind of an early game on a Saturday afternoon, and so that cuts you loose for Saturday night a little bit, and maybe a little me time on Saturday, or you got a lot of recruiting after the game.
We'll recruit before and after, but I mean, last week was better when it came to me time because that was an early game.
Yeah.
This one will be a little bit later, and it's going to be followed up by a really tough Kentucky game we'll have to start getting ready for.
All right, Georgia and Tennessee Tech for the home opener this week. And we'll be on the air with you starting at 10 a.m. here on the Bulldogs Sports Network, 2 o'clock for the kickoff. And again, dog walk at 11:45. Be there for all of that on Saturday for the Bulldogs. And we'll be back for more with Coach Kirby Smart on Bulldogs Live and more of your questions right after this on the Bulldogs Sports Network. It's Bulldogs Live with Georgia head coach Kirby Smart. We're taking your questions. Our friends from Wipfli are our guest audience tonight, and we've got a question from our audience. This is Donna. Hi, Donna. Welcome to the show. Thanks for being here.
Thank you for having us.
Hey, Donna.
Hey, so our question is, which game in your career stands out the most as player or coach, win or loss?
Oh, man, oh, man, oh, man. It seems like it changes all the time when I get that question. I mean, the game that stands out probably the most as a player would be the Georgia-Florida game. We upset Florida. They were highly ranked, 37-17, 1997 in the Jacksonville, and that was just a game that we were not expected to win. And we're really proud of that win. It was the only time we beat Florida, so that was like really cool. And then as a coach, there's so many. The Rose Bowl sticks out a lot to me just because of the venue and like the scenery and like the mountains in the backdrop. That was just like a really cool experience. But then the very next week, the loss in the national championship sticks out. So close, played so well, and didn't find a way to win it. But I mean, the Natties and the SEC championships would have to be the biggest ones because those meant the most. Appreciate your question.
Thank you.
Thanks, Donna. We appreciate you being here. We'll get more audience questions as we go along tonight. Back to the social platforms. Hashtag Ask Coach Smart, brought to you by Greenpoint Ag, farmer-owned, locally focused. Larry in Atlanta sends this one in. Coach, would you say that Malachi Starks is one of the more versatile players you've ever coached?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, he's a tremendous athlete. He can play all the positions in the secondary, the two safeties, the corner, and the star. He could play on offense. He played high school quarterback. He can punt return. He can kick return. There's not much that Malachi can't do, and the best part about Malachi is you'd never know it just talking to him because he's extremely humble, Christian young man, leads our FCA from time to time, and he's got great parents. So he is one of the most versatile athletes that I've been around.
We're mentioning the Braves off air a little bit earlier, but his ability to catch the football is kind of like Michael Harris in center field for the Braves and the catches that he makes.
No doubt. The judgment of the ball and the skills and the depth perception and those things, he's really special at.
He had a big one last week. Samantha in Athens, How comfortable and confident is Carson becoming in this offense?
Oh, extremely. I mean, he's just been in it so long. He understands it, and I got a lot of respect for Carson because he doesn't get bored with the basics. You know, there's day in and day out you run plays, and he knows those plays. He's been in our offense. He can explain it to the younger quarterbacks better, but he's always looking for an edge. He's always looking for a way to get better, and Coach Van Gorder, Streeter, and Bobo do a great job of challenging Carson. Challenging him in individual drills, whether it's maybe how he protects the ball, how he moves in the pocket. But he's very comfortable in the offense.
What do you feel like is his best trait?
Composure. I mean, I think that's a very, very needed trait for a quarterback, and pocket presence and movement. His ability to navigate a pocket and keep his eyes downfield, I think, is very good. Most quarterbacks, they want to find an escape route. He's not looking for an escape route. He's looking for a place to step up in the smoke and throw the ball.
How about the other guys behind him right now? What's their progress look like?
They're all getting better. They're getting a lot of reps. Gunner is taking a lot of them. Rashado's taking a lot of them, and Puglisi's done a really good job. He works a little bit with the scout team. He works a little bit with our 3 group, and then Coulter again has done a great job as well. Young guy that's done a great job out of Perry down there.
Julie in Bogart, Georgia. Do you think the tight end usage will just depend upon game plan week to week?
Yeah, it's going to vary. How are they playing us? Who are they matching them up with? You know, what is the down and distance, and how are those guys playing? You know, we're going to get our playmakers the ball, and the best guys will get the most touches.
How do you feel about that group right now?
Feel good. Feel good. We got a lot of depth there. Tough, hard-nosed Ben is getting used to the way we practice. You know, he didn't get to go through spring, but he's very mature and understands things. Lawson's had a good camp, and so has Oscar.
Does that experience that he had at another location help with the fact that he didn't go through spring here?
Yeah, it probably helps some. It doesn't help with learning the offense, though.
Right.
That was one of the big parts, and he wasn't in spring somewhere else. You know, he was not playing football at the time. He was graduating, so he just hadn't played football there for really a year.
Julie, thanks for your question. We appreciate you sending those in. You can do so anytime on the social platforms. #AskCoachSmart. It's brought to you by Greenpoint Ag, farmer-owned and locally focused. This is Bulldogs Live with Coach Kirby Smart. It's presented by Wells Fargo, an official sponsor of the Georgia Bulldogs. We'll take more of your questions for the coach as we roll along here on a Thursday night on the Bulldogs Sports Network. Let's take a look ahead, brought to you by the Governor's Office of Highway Safety. The penalty for getting a DUI can cost up to $10,000. That's why the Governor's Office of Highway Safety says drive sober so you won't get pulled over. Georgia's opponent this weekend is Tennessee Tech. And, Coach, some early thoughts on the Golden Eagles and that matchup as you look ahead to Saturday.
Yeah, excited. You know, they throw the ball all over the field offensively, and most of the time we play teams like this, they get the ball out really quick. You know, they don't want to hold it. This is their second quarterback. They got an entire season coming, and a lot of times they can't match up front. So the ball comes out quick, a lot of screens. That's what we expect to see. It'll be interesting to see if maybe they try to run it to shorten the game. But they do a good job defensively. They got some really different looks. They do sometimes use a 3-3 stack, which is very different and causes different rules for our offense because they only have 3 defensive linemen. A lot of these smaller schools struggle to find those body types. So we don't know what we might see, and you want to be able to adjust quickly and try to get back on course.
They did not have a lot of success running the football against Middle Tennessee State in their opener. And to your point about throwing the football, it may be one of those afternoons for them tomorrow or Saturday.
The only thing about that, sometimes that extends the game. So, you know, that's one of those things. Sometimes the clock running matters more than the throwing, but I expect to get a lot of short, quick passes for sure.
All right, that's our look ahead, brought to you by the Georgia Department of Highway Safety. The Governor's Office of Highway Safety. Boy, it's early in the season, isn't it? Okay, let's grab a question from our audience here. It's Ryan. Ryan, welcome to the show. What's your question for Coach Smart?
Sure. First, congrats to your son and his team for representing Georgia in the Southeast Regional of the Little League World Series in Warner Robins.
That's
My
cool.
question is, how hard was it to keep up with the games as fall camp was opening up?
Oh, golly, it was hard. I forget what day. I mean, there was like they stayed down there for 5, 6, 7 days, and there was one day I can't remember what day it was. It was one of the days they were playing a big game. I don't remember if it was the Alabama game or the Tennessee game, but we were going to meetings, and the meetings were, I'm going to say 2 o'clock. I don't know what times they were, but we were trying to go to the meetings, and he was actually on the mound, bases loaded, and they brought him in, and the whole team is uh, in our lounge, and they have TVs on everywhere, and the TV's on that because it's on ESPN. And I know he's pitching, but I'm trying to get to the team meeting, and I come by there, and I'm like, almost the whole team's out there waiting to see what happens, you know. So it was a little awkward moment because I had to go in there and see the team, and I actually missed that part of it, and it was crazy. So it was hard, but my wife was there, and Mary Beth enjoyed being there, and it was a cool experience for him.
Ryan, appreciate you being here. Thanks for your question tonight. Our friends from Whippley are here as our guest audience tonight. Thank you, folks, for being here. Tonight's show brought to you by Wells Fargo, an official sponsor of the Georgia Bulldogs. And another question from hashtag AskCoachSmart. This is from Mark in Crawford, Georgia. Did Nate Frazier surprise you on Saturday, or are you used to seeing that from him in this past camp?
No, I wouldn't say it surprised me. He's had some electric runs, some energy, and some burst. He does a really good job of that. He doesn't always do things exactly the right way. He's a work in progress in terms of footwork, his aiming point, his read key, the way he takes the ball, what route he runs, his protection. I mean, there's a lot there, but when he gets the ball and he gets out in space, he's fun to watch, and he's a great kid. I mean, he came all the way from California. Dale McGee did a tremendous job recruiting him, and then when Dale, left, it was a relationship that we had here, and he wanted to be here. He tells me all the time. He's like, DeAndre Swift's my favorite back. DeAndre Swift's my favorite back. He loves Swift, Sony, and those guys, and the legacy that Georgia created. I go back to that Rose Bowl game when Sony and Nick, that kid was very impressionable at a young age when that happened, and he remembers those type things.
Everyone talks about his speed. You've got a lot of guys on this team that have top end speed. Is that one of the things you look for when you recruit as you do? How important is speed to the game nowadays?
It's always important. I mean, it's a space game. Speed will always be important. It's probably, more important now than it's ever been in terms of how much space there is on the field. People are using the whole 53 yards, and they used to play in a phone booth, and now they play spread out. And if you can run, you got a chance. And speed is important. I mean, so is size, though.
We saw some other guys on offense. London Humphreys with the speed that he has. Cash Jones on his touchdown run against Clemson last week. He had a pretty nice stiff arm on that play too.
Yes, he did. He has been perfecting that for a lot of years on the scout team against some good defensive players. So he earned the right to use it.
That's right. It's a moment that paid off for him and the Bulldogs last week in that win over Clemson. Another question from hashtag AskCoachSmart. It's brought to you by Greenpoint Ag, farmer-owned, locally focused. Michael in Harlem, Georgia, what is one particular area you want to see improvement this week from the entire team?
I think cleaning up the penalties would be nice. I want to be really efficient there. I want offensively to get on the same page on some of the run game in terms of who we're working to, who we're blocking, and the receivers and the line being on the same page. I think defensively, the biggest area is takeaways and forcing a ball out, creating turnovers. We talk about it a lot, and it's got to carry over into games.
There wasn't, and you've talked about that. You've addressed that last year and this year, but there weren't a lot of takeaways by Georgia last year. But in the end result, it didn't seem to affect the outcome a whole lot. Or maybe am I missing something?
Well, I mean, in the games we lost. The game we lost, or the games that were tight, that always comes back to that. And you want to be critical not to turn the ball over. And good teams don't turn it over. And you look at Clemson and us the other day, and both teams were stingy with the ball.
Yeah. It was a good job of ball security. And you mentioned on Nate a few moments ago, I think his first carry, did he kind of juggle that a little bit? He kind of bobbled that hand off, and I think he came out of the game, and you talked with him on the sidelines for a few moments, and that was on his first carry. Could that be like jitters or something, or was it just a mishandling?
It's technical. It's the quarterback and him being on the same page and doing things right, and that's part of being a freshman, and that's part of him growing up.
And I think he finished with over 80 yards rushing, and he ended up catching some passes too, and had a nice game for you. We look forward to watching him play the rest of the year. It's Georgia and Tennessee Tech on Saturday, 2 o'clock kickoff at Sanford Stadium for the home opener. We're on the air with you at 10 a.m. here on the Bulldogs Sports Network for our coverage of Bulldogs football. We hope you can tune in for that. The Dog Walk at 11:45 on Saturday. To turn out for that and watch the Bulldogs as they enter Sanford Stadium this weekend for game number 1 between the hedges. This is Bulldogs Live with Coach Kirby Smart. It's presented by Wells Fargo, an official sponsor of the Georgia Bulldogs. Back for more after this on the Bulldogs Sports Network. A little bit more with Coach Kirby Smart here in this first hour, and then we'll turn it over to the Bulldogs All-Stars. They'll take your calls in hour number 2, another hour to talk Bulldogs football here on Bulldogs Live. And Georgia fans, the 2024 Georgia Football Yearbook presented by Georgia Power is now available. It contains rosters, features, and lots more. You can visit georgiadogs.com/digital today and take a look at the Georgia Football Yearbook. Our friends from Whippley are here tonight as our guest audience. Thank you for being here. And Matt has a question for Coach. Good evening, Matt.
Thanks, Scott. Hey, Coach, how you doing? So my question is, what is the most recent text you got from Quavo, and what is that relationship like?
Most recent text. I got one before the season started a couple weeks ago. Something about Richard LeCount and him. I think we're going to be at one of the games, and he's been working on an intro, like what do you call it? An intro music for like the team type deal that he's been working with somebody trying to do he and another artist maybe working on some music to come out to. I told him hit Josh Brooks for that. I mean that's out of my department.
No, we're all for it. We love it.
That's right. What did you say? What was the other part of the question?
Oh, just what's that relationship like with Quavo?
Oh, he's great. The kids, I mean, the players love being around. I mean, he's a dog fan. I mean, that's cool to me. The fact that he identifies and was a high school quarterback, good athlete, and was from the state of Georgia or is from the state of Georgia and loves being part of it. So that's really cool, and I know our players like that.
Matt, thanks for your question. Appreciate your time, and thank you for being here tonight.
Although I am worried, I'm worried he's going to give Andrew some kind of gear. He keeps telling Andrew he's going to give him a chain or a grill or something. And I told Andrew, I said, Andrew likes Quavo a little too much.
Oh, man, that might be popular on the baseball team, though.
Oh, absolutely, baseball and football.
Especially the grill, right?
It is on our team.
Let's grab a question from #AskCoachSmart. Trent in Alpharetta, Georgia. Who typically wins in pass rush drills, the offensive or the defensive lines?
Well, I mean, Michael is probably our highest percentage winner. He's a really good rusher out on the edge. But, I mean, the O-line wins more than they lose. I mean, they have an advantage because they're in front of you and they stay in front of you and they're big and they do a good job. It's when you work in tandem that you win a higher rate. You know, just one-on-one, it's hard. 2-on-2, all of a sudden your percentages go up because you can do some things. And then when it gets 5-on-5, it only takes 1 to win out of 5 that affects the quarterback.
How did you feel about your line play in that first week?
It's good. Early on we didn't get a lot of movement, but I say all the time it's hard to move people when they don't want to move now, especially when they're big. So we probably didn't run it as well as we'd like early. They did a good job with their coverage and their rush working together. They're very well coached defense. I mean, there's a lot of similarities to their defense and ours, and they played really physical.
We'd mentioned a little bit earlier about the I don't want to say lack of size, but that's all I can think of right now. The lack of size of Tennessee Tech's defensive front. Do you feel like it'll be a little bit easier to get that movement this week, or will they do some things to adjust and account for that lack of size?
Yeah, they're not going to be big. They're not built like Clemson, but that's the problem is people look at that and go, oh, well, anything less than a 10-yard run's a failure. No, they're going to take chances. They're going to move. They're quicker. You know, we don't face guys that have the twitch and the quickness they do at 260 maybe we face at 290. They're going to plug backers. They're going to do things we haven't seen. So it's just you got to be patient. We usually size wins out a lot of times, and you wear people down. But you can't get impatient just because the first play doesn't go like you want it to. You got to keep chopping wood.
This is Bulldogs Live with Georgia head coach Kirby Smart. We've got one more segment with the coach before we say hello and good evening to the Bulldogs All-Stars. They're waiting in the next hour, and we'll take a timeout and come back for more questions for Kirby right after this on the Bulldogs Sports Network. Let's grab a question from our audience. This is Susan. Hi, Susan. Welcome to the show, and fire away with your question.
Thank you very much. Coach Smart, if you weren't the coach of the greatest team in the greatest city, the greatest state, and the greatest country in the world, what would you be doing?
Probably cutting the grass for my wife. I honestly ask myself that a lot, and I don't know the answer to that. It would not be – and probably a bad group to say this with, but it would not be sitting there being a banker. I can promise you that. Because I always thought that's where I would be when I took all those hard finance classes and that MS 312 class that I still barely got out of. But it wouldn't be behind a desk, so I don't know what I'd be doing.
COVID twins would be good.
Yeah, I've heard. You know, right?
They'll keep you young.
Yeah. My wife ain't doing twins again. I can promise you that.
Susan, thank you very much.
Appreciate it. Go Dogs.
Thank you for being here. Hashtag Ask Coach Smart's where the next question comes from. Riley in Decatur, Georgia. Does Michael Williams remind you of Trayvon Walker at all?
Yeah, there's some similarities there. Trayvon is bigger, has more reach, size. Michael is very athletic like him. Trayvon might be faster. Michael's probably a better natural pass rusher. But Trayvon did so many things for us. I mean, he could drop, he could spy, he could do it all. He was tremendously talented. Both of them are great people too.
Logan in Columbus, Georgia. What's your favorite game day tradition, specifically for home games?
I mean, the dog walk will be right there. I mean, in terms of home traditions, the lighting it up in the fourth quarter is really cool. It's hard in day games, but it's good at night games. The locker room's always special to me. That anxiety and that feeling you get before you come out, and when you come out, the masses are there. It's filled up, and the stadium's packed, and the run in between the band is really cool.
Logan, thanks for that question. Joseph in Milton, Georgia. Given Jalen Walker's versatility, where would you say is his natural position?
I mean, he's naturally gifted at edge rush and being an outside backer, but he's worked really hard on his inside backer trade so that he could develop two careers and not be limited to one. He just creates more value for himself. I mean, it's the same as a back being able to catch the ball and run the ball. It's the same as an offensive tackle being able to play center and guard. I mean, he has versatility in what he does because he's really worked hard at his craft.
Perry in Valdosta, Georgia. How are guys like Colby Young and London Humphreys adjusting to UGA?
Seem to be doing great based on last week. They both, had touchdown catches and have grown up a lot and have kind of integrated into our culture, which I think is great. Our players have embraced these guys, and they've embraced our players. So it's a mutual respect.
Both guys had touchdowns last week in their first game as Bulldogs as well. And Colby was kind of battling through some injuries during the camp. Is he okay now?
Yeah, he seems to be fine. I mean, he has not taken the total load there for a while, but he had some hamstring soreness, and he's been good here recently.
Kirby, thanks as always for your time. Thanks for answering all the questions. We appreciate it. Good luck on Saturday.
Thank you, guys, and go Dogs.